thank you for joining the call and taking interest in the session organized especially for you guys, for the circle of influencers, as we call them. I call you, the very reason why we call you people as influencers is because you largely make an impact on the business community by handholding them, helping them in taking their business decisions fast. We have with us Nimit Gujrati, a very, very popular and well-known CA in Maharashtra, at least, if not in India. And I'm sure he's, his reach is actually spread across India, but he doesn't boast about it. That's his specialty. So he's also a tech enthusiast. He's also a tech enthusiast and avid Tally user. And he's here with us today, and he will take us through a very, very exciting and interactive session in helping us, understand data management, how to use it effectively using, software tools like Tally and others. We will not cover others. If Mr. Gujrati is interested in, helping you all taking through other softwares also, you can contact him personally. But definitely, as far as Tally is concerned, he will definitely take you through what is more, suitable and which will reduce time and increase speed in making decisions and helping clients. So without much ado, I will ask Mr. Gujrati to take over the stage, please.
Yeah, thank you, Abhijit, for arranging such a fantastic session. At the outset, let me thank Tally Solutions for giving me an opportunity to unable to say my views on a bit offbeat topic. So normally what I do is give a session on Tally, what are the facilities, features, configurations that are available on Tally, and try to emphasize that everyone should use this feature. Now I am extending my scope a little bit. So how you can further use these features and configurations and really make effective use of a software. So the session was planned few days back. I got a call from Janak. So Janak is also there. So he told me that whether it is feasible to take a session, and then the idea cropped up. Let us take a session on data management and how the compliance scenarios are working. So my focus will be more how to extract maximum possible information from the software and effectively use it both for compliance and other uses. Okay. And while planning the session, I did a lot of research and tried to analyze a lot of things. What are the practical difficulties that people are facing, or as an accountant or as a chartered accountant, we are facing in doing more or less compliance and all that thing. And then I came across an excellent article in the Bombay Chartered Accountant Journal by Vazir sir, The Extinct Profession. Now, the author or the writer tried to forecast a scenario where what if there is no compliance in India in 2015, what will happen to the profession? And then I got further boost to my session that we should be more into a data management and information system rather than just doing the compliance. Okay, so based on that theme and with that idea, I will start my session and take you through this presentation. We have a question answer chat box and question answer also. So everyone is free to have that questions or opinions in their respective chat box. Should I start?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just a request to the participants. कोई भी सवाल, कुछ भी query हो, if somebody wants to add something, if you want to speak something, please use the chat box. You can use the question answers for your queries. Our panel will try to address it. And if you want to speak, please mention it in the chat box, raise your hand, and we would love to hear it from you as well. but it is a great honor to have Nimit sir on board, who has been a tele enthusiast for last 20 years. And today, I hope we would be able to, even if we are able to even take 10% of his knowledge nuggets at home today, it will significantly improve our productivity. So without further ado, Nimit sir, please, the stage is all yours.
Yeah, thanks, Janak, once again. So I will start with my presentation. Now, please bear with me because this is the first time I am taking a webinar. Normally, I am more of a live session, interactive session. So maybe some goof up or some, please bear with me for that. Okay.
This is also advent of technology and learning for all of us.
Learning curve for all of us.
In fact, Abhijit sir is in Hyderabad, right? Abhijit sir, you're in Hyderabad.
Yes.
I'm in Mumbai and Nimit sir is in Pune. So this is the magic of technology that we are seeing, and we have participants, in fact, all over India. So yeah, please.
Yes. Sure.
Okay. So basically, so at present, the theme of this session is that whether we are hardware or software. Now, generally, all of you are aware that hardware is the operating systems and the software is the mind of that operating system. So if you see the journey of an hardware, the hardware is going to extend at some stage. So earlier we are to desktop, then laptop, and now the mobile is the ultimate hardware piece. And then later on mobile will be also replaced. But the unique feature of all this hardware is the software is remaining same. The operating system or Android or whatever, Microsoft, they are remaining same. So what I felt is we should have our journey from hardware to software. We should become software of the businesses rather than becoming hardware. And by hardware, what I mean to say, we should not be there doing all the correction entries and doing all the data, what is happening to data, whether data is receiving on time or not. But we should more of an application of mind and try to clear the data at the base itself. Okay, so what software does, whenever there is a problem, software get amended itself or get it updated, and we get an updated version. So what I'm trying to say is that we should become like a software where we continuously get ourselves updated and help the businesses in doing so. So basically, what is data management? Data management is an art, and you need to shift from data processing to data management. That is, your mind and focus should be more on a management part rather than processing part or the data entry part. Okay, I am not telling that processing is not important or entry is not important, but the management is much more important. So where I need changes in my processing or my entry, that only management will take. Okay, so what we are a financial experts, we are a compliance expert, we know the law, we know the finances, we know the businesses. None of the business or none of other profession knows business like us. Profession is always immortal, it cannot extinguish. See, whatever may be the reason, the chartered accountant profession is there for decades, years, and for centuries. Now this profession, the role of the profession may change, or the importance of the profession may change, but it can't extinguish. So there is no fear that we will not have any job or we will not have any business to do. The service of a chartered accountant will always be at a forefront in the business. So what we are doing now, we are actually embarking on a journey from a manual system to offline to direct online. Now, when I say from a manual to offline to a direct online, means earlier we used to prepare the return by hand, or we used to write a lot of things. Now, a lot of offline Excel or offline utilities are there. Now, time has come, this utility will also go. From a software, we will be able to directly upload a return or download an information. So practically there will be no other thing required like Excel, Word, or any of the processing thing. So a two software like Tally or other software will talk with each other. They will interact and give us the data. Now, the beauty part of this is what? We will get data on a real-time basis, and we can process and manage data at a faster speed. Okay. Earlier, those who are the senior in the profession used to know that 4.5, the Tally 4.5 was not able to share also. We used to take floppy from here and there, and then there used to be a version problem and everything. Now everything is gone. There is no version issue. You can share the data on a real-time basis. The next step of it, what you can, from Tally or from any of the software, you can upload, download the information. Tally, the two Tally will also interact with each other. You can export data from Tally, you can import data to Tally. So a lot of exchange of information will be there. So what will happen? Compliance is going to be there, but there will be a paradigm shift in the compliance journey. So we need to shift along with it. We cannot live in that old stage. We cannot say that we will do our thing in offline mode only. We have to adopt direct or online modes. So we have to become softwares of the business, not hardwares. So typically, why we require or why we need a data management? Now, I have analyzed that we need data management for four major things. The first is the legal compliance. This is always top of our chart, that we are filing n number of returns every now and then. Maybe it may be GST, income tax, MCA, company laws, labor laws. Means there are almost around 40 returns that we are filing for a particular business unit. So legal compliance is the topmost in our data management. Then there will be an internal performance and analysis and monitoring. Now this is more of a business analytics, that is how business is running, whether business is running properly or not. Then there will be an archival and retrieval of historical data. So by archival and retrieval, what I mean is the storage of the process data. Now, generally what is happening nowadays, whenever you prepare a balance sheet, you store it in a different format or a different mode. Then always you have to retrieve that data and then match it with the other data. So archival and retrieval of an historical data will also change. Now, if you see, GST and ITD network store all our return information. Okay, you can download your return from 2015, 16 or earlier years also. So whether you need another platform to store your return, definitely not. Just log in and download the returns. Okay. Then the fourth part is the review and investment by the external stakeholders. See, what I mean by this is your financial data is uploaded at number of portals. Some of the portals are public portals like MCA. MCA is a public portal. Anyone can go to the MCA site and download the financials of any companies and LLPs. Second thing is the CIBIL report. CIBIL report is also a financial report. Now, the time will come where the ITD or income tax or GSTN will also open up the limited use of data. That is, they will also share the data of an SSE with third party. Now, all this will create a lot of shift in data management. So if you see a typical life cycle of a data, you have to integrate, preserve, discover, integrate, analysis, plan, connect. So it's a circle, and this circle has to be continuously rotate. You cannot just have a rigid setup. Now, if you see, I will start with the legal compliances. So when there is a legal compliances, I have taken 3 statutes at one time. So if you see today, major time of our compliances is for income tax, GST and MCA. Okay. So in general, compliance means conforming to a rule such as policy, standard or law. So by complying a particular statute, what we are doing? We are just telling them what is our data, what are our results and what are our liabilities towards the statutory payment. Now earlier, each one used to prepare balance sheet in a different format. They used to have their financial data in a different format. But this statute now has compelled us to have a unified format. You cannot file ITR in a different format. You have to download ITR form and they have their standard fields. Same thing happening with the GST. Same thing happened with the MCA. Now, typically, all this statute, if you see, 50 to 60% of the data is common. When I say common data, means it's whether it is a common field. No, it's not a common field, but the figures are common. So for example, sales figure. Now sales figure, you are uploading it in income tax also, GST also and MCA also. But now you are, whether the sales figure that you are uploading in income tax, GST and MCA is same? Definitely yes, it is same. But you have to upload it 3 times. Each return has to be separately filed. But at the back end, the trial balance or the data is same. Now, if you analyze this returns, you will be seeing that these returns are not detailed report. They are the summary reports. Okay. So income tax doesn't ask for all the ledgers. It only asks us the summary of ledgers. Same thing with the GST. Typically GST asks for the sales data. Now it has extended its scope to party wise. You are now giving party wise details. Same thing with the MCA. In XBRL or regular annual return, you are giving the summary report. Now the source for all this is common, the financial or the data. The data that is you have entered in any of the software typically. Now whether we can have that scenario where we are ready with the data at any point of time. Yes, that is possible, because if you can identify what are the common fields, what are the independent fields. For common fields, you need to work for one time only. And for independent field, it will be hardly for 10 to 20% of the overall data. At present, what is the problem? What we are doing? We are filing income tax return separately. We are calling for the data. We are filing GST return separately and calling for the data. MCA return separately and calling for the data. If we can eliminate that, then our role or our efforts will reduce significantly. I will show you how that elimination can happen. It's just the teaser. Janak, am I fast or it's okay?
No, sir. We are going perfectly well.
Yeah. So what is the pain in legal compliances? The first pain is no single point data collection center. In typical chartered accountant office also, we have our own departments, that is income tax department, audit department and GST department. Now I have seen that number of times each department calls for the data separately. So that is a pain point for us and pain point for client also. Then the second pain point is different reporting format for various filing of return. This is definitely taking a lot of our time in the present day. each time the Excel utility or the utility for filing changes, we have to make a suitable change in the data or the field that we need to enter. But if you realize that change happen only with relation to 10 to 20%, but we have to wait for that change. Now, what I feel is rather than waiting for that changes, whether we can create a data of 90% and get ourselves ready, that question needs to be answered by each and one of us. And time will come where government is going to reduce, or the statutory authorities are going to reduce the time availability or the last date for uploading various returns. So definitely we have to think a lot of on the reporting format. Then the reconciliation issue, typical issue. Now reconciliation issue can crop up any point of time during the filing of return also, and post filing of return also. Now, if you, all of the practicing chartered accountant have realized that government or statutory authorities can issue notice at any point of time, at any level, or and for any years. Now, everyone must be aware that we are receiving notice for service tax department for year 15-16, 16-17 for reconciling the sales shown in the income tax return and the service tax return. Now we all know definitely there is a difference between the sales reported in the service tax and the income tax. We know the reason also, but that reasons are not readily available with us. So we have to compile that data. And if by force we don't have that reconciliation handy, then we have to redo that reconciliation. Then the third is the archival and the retrieval. Again, same issue, where to store my reconciliations, whether to store in the software itself or in a different format. Then owner always consider us as a cost center rather than profit center. So we have to justify owner or the business owner that we need this data for compiling his business requirement only. We don't need this data for our help or our businesses. But still it is always that you ask for data again and again and again. So we are always a cost center rather than profit center. Then usage of technology and data interface between various sources. Now each one follows a different format or a different way of data exchanges. So there is always a pain in communications. Okay. So these are the typical pain. I definitely know that there will be a lot of other points that we all are facing, but I try to squeeze it to the requirements. Now, what are the challenges? The earlier pain is there. Now, pain comes along with the challenges. The challenges is different data backup, working format for each compliances. Need to sanitize data for all compliances. Now, when I use word sanitize, I have purposely used this because sanitization is the word in this COVID time. So by sanitizing, we are not erasing. We are just cleaning the data or cleaning the surfaces. Okay. So there is no erasing of data or changes of data. I always believe that data has to be kept by the data entry operator only. If we do changes from our end, he will never understand what pain we are taking. So we have to sanitize the data. Then we need to sync data with all the stakeholders, that is the vendors, bankers, customers, statutory authorities, etc. Now, when I say this, see what happens is nowadays all the businesses are subject to scrutinies from different angles. So if you have taken a loan from banks, bank has their independent audits, the stock audits, the customer audits, or n number of audits. So in that also our data is verified. Then while taking dealerships or distributorship, the parent company verifies the data. or when we are having a joint venture with some multinational companies or some third parties, then both the entities are verifying the data of the child entity. So each time, whenever there is a data verification, our role comes in. Because whenever there is a query, the first thing will be what? Call CA, who has done this or who has verified this. So we are subject to scrutiny from number of people. And sometimes I really feel that whether we are answerable to all the queries, whether we are responsible, whether we are answerable. See, definitely we know what is the reason for difference. But the question comes up like we are the culprit or the corrupt people behind that. We are not corrupt. We are not culprit. We are just presenting what is available. Okay. But the view of the stakeholder is what? ये तो CA ने ही किया रहेगा. ये तो CA को ही मानो. See, I want to jump from that. I want to come out of that situation that this is only known to CA. And CA is the key to every question. We are definitely key to every question, but we are not responsible for every question. The question is of responsibility, not of the answering the question. Okay. Definitely we have a representation role. We have a litigation role, but we don't have a responsibility role. We are not responsible for that data or that issue or that transactions. Okay. Then what are the common errors? Now, generally, whenever we get the data, we find that there are a lot of mistakes or what are a lot of errors in the data. The common is the invoice number, HSN code, quantity rate. Now, whether the software which we are using or software which we are interacting has capability to find out these common errors and eliminate at source or not. So our job of finding and eliminating is reduced to that extent. So I will show you how software helps us in eliminating these common errors. Okay. Any questions or any typical questions that till now?
Nimit sir, I was just seeing the chat box. At the moment, there are no queries. However, I will encourage participants to make most use of it. Or maybe at the end of the session, we can have a feedback from the participants.
So just one feedback, whether the topic is interesting or not. Just if some of the participants just give their short review or by just shake yes or no.
So Rahul Jaju sir, CA Rahul Jaju sir is saying yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. In fact, Balasubramaniam sir is also saying yes. So what we can do is, sir, in fact, we are getting a lot of comments. 5, 6, the chat box is filled. They are finding it very informative.
Yeah. Thanks. Just to boost my motto. Okay. So
I guess most of them are very keenly listening and they don't want to miss out.
Yeah. Okay.
Still, feel free to raise your queries and we'll be very happy to address it. Till then, Nimit sir, all yours.
Yeah. So I will continue with my things. Now, what are our targets? So this is what we want to achieve by following a data management thing. Data management, recording and processing of transaction. Software as a tool for data management, analysis, archival and retrieval. So our software should have capability for both finding out the errors, eliminating the errors, warning us for the potential errors. Then we should be able to analyze the data, that is whatever data has been entered or processed. We should have the capability to find out the key parameters or some loose end in the data. Then we need our data to be stored properly, and then we should be able to retrieve the data. Then what will be the way forward for statutory compliances? That is what I imagine or what I forecast from my past experience, the changes that are happening in the compliances level, and what is the future of compliances. That is what ultimately the statutory bodies are trying to achieve by making so frequent changes in the compliance model. Then minimize risk through optimal use of Tally as a software and other report. So I will see you through with the Tally some of the reports which I feel everyone should use it in the day-to-day data management system. Definitely, not only the other software will also provide this type of report, but Tally being an effective software, I have taken that as a medium.
Nimit sir, one of
Yeah.
the participants have raised hand. Chetan Somani sir.
Yeah. No, he's with me, so he's my colleague. So by
Okay,
mistake.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe, yeah, by mistake, please.
Okay. Now, again, the aspect. Now, currently, there is the highest priority of compliance is given to the income tax GST. We have to be very careful in checking that all about data required to be submitted for regulatory compliance is accurate and corresponding figures which are linked in each different compliance do not mismatch. Now, this is what I feel is the key in the compliances. Now, if you see, the income tax scrutiny has changed drastically. There is a huge change in the scrutiny pattern or the way the data has been scrutinized by different departments. The days are gone where we are used to have 3 balance sheet, 4 balance sheet or different balance sheet for each stakeholders. That is absolute now. You can't have that type of thing. You need to have one balance sheet. Now that is in the recent past. But what will happen later on? If you see, any inaccurate data reported in any of the software will be picked up by all the stakeholders. Okay. So if, for example, if I am reporting something as a related party in income tax audit report, now that data will be picked up by MCA also, whether in the related party statement that figures are appearing or not. Now that figure can be picked up by GST also. So if you are selling to your related party, GST may also pick up the data and say whether there is a preferential pricing or not. So when you are selling to your subsidiary or a related party, whether you are charging market price or not, or what is the price you have determined for inter-unit transfers. Now, up till now, we have never imagined GST picking up a related party transaction. But now GST will also pick up a related party transaction. And they will come up with a query whether this related party transaction was first subject to GST. If yes, then what is the price at which you have levied the GST? Same thing will happen when you are reporting something in GST and not reported in income tax. So now you have to be very careful in reporting any data in any of the statutory compliance model. You cannot have that income tax return has been filed by a different consultant, GST returns are filed by a different consultant, MCA returns are filed, and they don't have the corresponding figure with them. The days are gone. Getting notices at very preliminary level. Once they start using their advanced data, artificial intelligence in their data management, they will come up with n number of queries. Okay, means if we start making list of cross connection, we can have so many cross connections. Another example is loan taken from the related party, whether interest is paid or not. If interest is paid, whether provision of 3613 borrowing cost is there or not. Okay, so MCA and income tax will talk with each other. Same thing will happen to advances to related party, whether deemed dividend provisions are applicable or not. Now, even if your tax auditor is not reporting that this transaction is not subject to deemed dividend, still they can pick up from data from MCA and say that there is a loan to the director or a shareholder and why deemed dividend is not applicable. So my MCA person should be aware of that provision and he should be ready with the answer. He cannot just shift that query to income tax guy. Okay, so these are just the examples. So income in ITR has to correspond to sales in GST, which has to correspond sales in profit and loss. See, these are so many complex web of interstitial transfer of data. At present, what is happening? The department or the statutory authorities are not using their artificial intelligence capability at fullest. So they are just coming up with the minor queries, only sales reconciliation, only 26 years reconciliation, or something like that, which are very preliminary queries. See, I can foresee they will just come up with the query that you have sold a particular item to a particular party at a lower price. Why you have sold it at a lower price? Now, when GST will use their artificial intelligence to their fullest, they will have the data to that extent. You cannot just sell a particular item at a loss to a particular party and levy a lower GST. You have to give explanation. Okay. So submission of data with the surge in usage of technology integration in governance and seeing increasing number of regulatory activity be taken online, such as data submissions, grievance redressal, query resolution, etc. Such steps create the foundation which has allowed us to continue work even in the corona pandemic. How it has come with its own, but however, it has come with its own sets of problems. Different data format requirement for different authorities, different due dates for data submission. Now, this is the headache. We have a different due dates, and every time we request government to extend the due dates. Okay, so this year government has extended, but things are becoming difficult for us also to ask for extension every now and then. Now time will come where the statutory authorities will not just adhere to our request and they will go ahead with their own sets of dates. Then definitely we need to be careful. Separate registration detail for each authority. Now earlier we used to take separate registration in each of the statutory authority, but MCA started a new concept. They are giving PAN, TAN, PF, everything at one go. Now imagine that happens across the board. Okay, so a single registration window for each of the registration requirement, and this window can be extended to state laws also. Okay, so imagine even your local registration will happen in a single window. Now when I say a single registration, so their internal database will be aligned to a single code. Okay, each entity will have its unique identification number. Now also we have everything is PAN and other base. Okay, so what will happen with that? Wherever you file the return, any of the authority can just access that data from independent database. They don't have to ask for us that what you have submitted to PF, what you have submitted to GST, what you have submitted to MCA. Nothing is required. I can give you example that they can even ask for a liquor license, what data you have submitted for the excise. Because if you have a liquor license, definitely you submit a detail of your input and output to excise authority, that is a local state authority. Now that will also go online, so they will have the access of that data also. And with the rapid technological upgradation by the government, there will be no barrier in that, and government is connecting their every state and every local authority is getting interlinked, so they can share the data. Bank will able to share the data directly with the government. There is no need for any statement to be submitted by us. Now what is that? Various errors in data upload, unusual, incorrect software version, etc. So this is our definitely our one of the pain point. Now we need to have our capability to overcome this. Now, this is what the income tax ITD is. Now, to give you the example, earlier, if you remember, the ITD, the income tax database and the TDS database was separate. Okay. So ITD was handling all our income tax data, that is filing of income tax, filing of returns, the 26AS, AIR. Now, if you see the TDS, which was handled by Traces, which was a separate database in itself, has merged. Okay. So now the entire data is on the single platform. Okay. Earlier in income tax also, for downloading 26AS, you have to go to a different website. It was going automatically. Now there will be no requirement. There is no requirement. So they are integrating their data into a single platform, and then that platform will be shared across all the statutory authority. Same thing is happening with GSTN. Same thing is happening with MCA. And all these platforms are privately managed. Okay. We are aware Infosys is managing MCA. Now, all these databases are privately managed. So they are equipped with the updated technology. They are pouring in the technology at any level in this database. And it is a mine gold for them. It is a gold mine of data. Okay. So what is important point in ITD? Definitely reconciliation of income with 26AS. Now, this is what we start when we start filing the return of income. Earlier, 26AS was just a small document which was showing only tax deducted by the other party. Now, the scope of 26AS is expanded to different level. Now, every information which is filed under STR or the STF, that is the AIR information, has been merged with 26AS. Okay. So all the returns which are filed by other parties, which relates to our PAN, is reflected in 26AS. So it will become a base document for any filing or any reconciliation. Practically, we need to reconcile our data or our financials with 26AS first, and then only think of filing income tax return. So what are the important fields? Profitability, related party transactions, and default in the law. So earlier, if you remember, TDS default was never reflected. Now TDS defaults are reflected in 26AS. Okay. So department has trying to ensure that all your defaults has to be cleared. Otherwise, while scrutinizing, the person will have the handy information and you cannot say, I don't know what is the default. Okay, I have not received any notices from the TDS department with regards to defaults, because that will be reflected in your 26AS. Got my point? So you practically, there is no excuse available with me. Okay. Now, if traces or if 26AS shows that there is a TDS default and my financials or my audit report or my notes to accounts will not reflect that defaults, then my auditor or my banker can question this, why this defaults has not been reflected in the financial statement reported by you. So as an auditor, I have to take utmost care while preparing my audit report, whether I have taken cognizance of all the defaults that are reflected, because there will be no excuse that I am not aware of the default. The client has not given me any notices, or I have taken a representation from the client that these are the only legal defaults available or on record. That excuse nowadays you cannot give, because you have access to 26AS. It's your roles and responsibility to verify 26AS. And if 26AS gives some default mechanism, you have to report it. Okay. Now, same thing with the MCA data. MCA data essentially ask for audited financial statements. So some of the fields, again I am repeating myself, some of the fields will be common. So income reported in the MCA should match with the ITR. Now, if some external agency take search from the MCA side and that is not matched with the search taken from the income tax side or the copy of income tax return submitted by you, definitely there will be a query. Okay. Now same thing with the GSTN. So format of data submission for GSTN is always changing. Then difference between the amount shown, credit shown, and that is GSTR 2A, 2B, 2, 2A, 1, 1A, 3, 3B, everything. So there is always an income mismatch or sales mismatch, purchase mismatch, everything is there. Now, this is what I want to emphasize further. What is the future of compliances? Now, if you see the history, earlier, the changes in the compliance used to be in a slow pace compliance change. It used to take 2 to 3 years or 5 years to have that particular change. Nowadays, the changes are happening every 6 months or every month, you can say. Now, what will be the future? According to me, future will be integration. So integration of all different regulatory website portals into one. Currently, only external data sharing is used and limited downloading facility is available. In future, there will be a single system to upload, download everything. Maybe reconciliation with each other at website. Vision for next 3 to 5 years will be what? Uniformulation or integration of system, single return and database. Now, when I say single portal, at present, we have ITD, GSTN, MCA, Provident Fund, ESI, each having a different portal for filing. Now, what I feel, what government is going further, they are trying to unify all this portal. So what they are essentially doing, they are essentially finding out the common fields and independent fields. This changing in the Excel utility is happening only because they want to eliminate the difference. They want to find out the standard fields, which is common to all, and unified field. And then they will create a single portal where you have to upload your data or your return into that portal. There will be no different portal for income tax, MCA, GSTN, Provident Fund, and so on. A single portal or a single web database where you will be uploading and downloading all the information. Imagine this scenario where a single return has to be uploaded that will take care of your income tax return, GST returns, and MCA returns, and Provident Fund return, and ESI return, and import-export returns, whatever may be, and RBI returns. See, some of the returns in RBI you are filing, that foreign assets, FLA returns, or NBFC has to file different returns. So a single portal or a single website will take care of all the data. And then they will interlink their own database with that portal. So 26AS and 2A can be downloaded from single portal. Or TCS return or TDS return data can be downloaded from single portal. Okay. So this entire compliance scenario will have 1, 2, 3 steps ahead. And what will happen to the profession? Whether profession will extinct? No, it will get combined. So now, as a chartered accountant or as a professional, I will require an intermediary who will take care of my data management, or I will go into a role of a data management. So I will be playing dual role, one of an expert and one of a data manager. Or I will need an intermediary which will enable me to pick up a data which is required to be uploaded into a portal. Okay, so whenever this thing will happen, and definitely it will happen, means the way I am seeing the changes in the field that they are making, if you clearly observe the field are getting similar. That is, the sales field in income tax is getting similar with the sales data in the GST, is getting similar with the sales in the MCA. So they can easily combine. There is no rocket science in the lighter mode. If I say there is no rocket science in combining this data. And anyway, the vision of the government is ease of doing business. So under ease of doing business formula, they will say that I am creating a single portal for uploading everything, and you can download all your data from that portal only. Okay. So when this will happen, my cross validation of data will be essential. Now, one more thing in this, I want to emphasize on this much is that when I say an intermediary is required, I am not replacing my role or our role. Okay. I am saying we need an expert person or a semi-expert person who just take the data from the client and get it managed properly for the required field. Again, in my earlier statement, I have said these fields are summary fields. These are not detailed fields. So what this data management person will do, they will summarize for us, and we have to become very intelligent in analysis this summarized data and then upload into the portal. So when I say there is a disallowance in the income tax return filing, suppose I say expense has been disallowed on the ground that it is a personal expenses, and if I have taken a GST credit on that, then whether I have reversed the GST credit or not. Okay, do remember this thing, that when a single portal will come, this type of data management will be very critical, because I cannot say that while filing return I am came to know knowledge that these expenses were of personal nature and I am disallowing it, but my GST return is not reversing that input credit. Okay, same thing happened for goods used for personal consumption. There is no GST credit on that. Or goods used by the partner for his own personal business or personal consumptions. There is no GST credit available. Now, when something is disallowed in income tax and corresponding effect is not taken in GST, there will be a chance of scrutiny or automatic reconciliation or automatic query. Okay, and then you cannot say I am ignorant of what is happening, because you yourself has uploaded in the portal, which is a common portal. You got my, all of you are getting my point, what I'm trying to analyze. Same thing will happen with the interest. Same thing will happen with the loans and advances for n number of things. Okay, so now you need to be more of an intelligent and analytic rather than just processing. Days are gone where I can solely rely on the data which is available and file the return and then take it at a later stage. Okay, so anything done in any return, particular statute return, you have to understand what are the effect in the other returns and whether the cognizance of that has been taken care of. So what I feel is, if you are disallowing something in income tax as a personal return, pass that entry in the books of account itself. Transfer that expense to capital account. So automatically GST will get reversed. Okay, don't keep that in your profit and loss account and then just while filing return add it to your computation. by saying that these expenses are disallowed under section 37 or whatever section you want to use. So any adjustment done out of the books will be a problem for other person. So whatever you want to do, whatever interest or whatever expenses you want to disallow, you disallow and pass that entry in the books of account itself. Record it so that there will be an effective communication internally. Okay. This is just a small example. There can be a vice versa example also. Got my point? Now, sometimes we have seen there are a number of notices where bogus purchases were there, and then the entire database was there. Now this will happen online because there is a penal provision in the income tax where any purchase is found which is not for the purpose of business or invoice is recorded which is found to be bogus, there is a penalty levied. Now, sometimes it do happen that during the income tax scrutiny, we accept that is a bogus expenses or that invoice was wrongly punched. But we forgot and the penalties are levied or disallowances are done in the income tax assessment orders. But we never realize that this needs to be reversed in GST. Practically, I never realized that we should ensure that GST return has reversed that thing or not. So now it should be an automatic process. Anything done in one return, you have to do it in the simultaneously do it in other returns. Okay. Any query?
Nimit bhai. So one of the participants, Vikas Acharya ji, has raised couple of pointers. So if you allow me, I'll ask Vikas ji to unmute only and speak. I'll unmute. Vikas sir, if you are there, I'll unmute you. If you can share your Vikas Acharya ji. Vikas Acharya ji, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Yeah. Please feel free to share the feedback that you have written and the query you might have.
So the main concern was like even I've been working on Tally like last 15 years.
Yeah.
So my major concern was majority people are not even aware of how to correctly get started in Tally ERP, like how you organize ledgers, how you organize cost centers.
Yeah.
And especially when you require a desired output related to statutory.
Yeah.
Like how you configure the taxation ledgers and many reports. And many of them are not even aware of the basic configurations.
Yeah.
I think Tally has got everything. The only thing is then very less awareness of how to make the best use of the system.
Yeah. So definitely this issue is going on for a long time, and companies taken number of efforts in creating awareness through medium like us, through taking regular lectures or regular seminars, organizing a lot of webinars nowadays. So a lot of awareness program. But what I feel is the things are definitely there is some short gaps at the company end also, but there are some stop gaps at business end also. So basically what in the later slide I will try to focus on that, okay, we have taken every efforts to cleanize or sanitize the data, and we are trying to ensure that client get the data at the proper stage or proper by doing proper entries. But there are always a reluctancy or shortage of resources at the client place, and we cannot have that resource replacement, or that cost of resources cannot be borne by us. So what I feel, I have shown some of this in this slide at the later end of the presentation, that you keep your client data at whatever is available, whatever best is available, but try to make best use of it by doing some minor changes in the data which is available to you. I'm not saying any major changes, just by doing some minor changes where we can help. That will definitely help you in uploading and finalizing the data. I will show you in next 2 to 3 slides how that is happening. Okay. And that is purely my views. So people can experiment and then improvise on that. Okay.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So I will continue with that. So again, the cross validation, I have given some of the examples. That is GST credit on capital goods, cost booking in income tax. So basically, sometimes lot of people do. This is the common mistake that happens, that while filing GST return, the GST credit on fixed asset has been taken, but while filing income tax, the depreciation is also calculated on the GST amount. Okay, so that is the major, sometimes we find so often. Now any statutory dues which is unpaid or delayed, tax audit reporting and the CARO reporting. Then loans to director 222E, 3613, section 185 to 189 of the Companies Act, related party transaction, arm's length pricing, 92E, TP, ASRPT, preferential pricing under GST. So this is all complex webs or interconnected data which we ourselves are uploading. See, this is not something they are finding out. So I am not concerned that they come to us and they find out something. This is from what we have given to them. So we cannot have that possibility that we are ignorant or we don't know what is uploaded. Okay, so the excuse of ignorance is not available in data which is uploaded by us. So this all complex thing are based on what is uploaded by us, and based on that there are a lot of queries are coming up, and we are fed up with that. These are whatever, mind my word, this whatever queries up till now we have received are just the preliminary queries based on their limited use of artificial intelligence. I have interacted with the income tax people a lot, and I have gut feeling that they will use their artificial intelligence, which is capability of their software. If they just increase that use by another 20 to 30%, we will get a flood of queries from them. Okay, now those who are in the scrutiny assessment or the litigant practice will know that there are a lot of queries which are generated from the CAS, that is the computer aided security system, and we ourselves don't know what is the root cause of this query. A simple example I can give, that we have filed 15 CB, 15 CA, the foreign transactions, and we have deducted the TDS and reported it. Then in the CAS reporting, there is a query that this transaction has not been reported in your income tax return. Now I try to went into that background, why this things has been given in the CAS. Then later on I found out that this is what that person has not filed his return or not claimed the TDS. That's why this query has come down. It is not that we have not debited that expenses. Okay, so if you clearly see that this income is not reported and we say that this is an expenses, how can I report this income? But basically, since it's a foreign party and they have not claimed the credit and they have not reported that income, obviously they have not filed their return. So that query has come down. Now this type of queries, now department doesn't know this. The officer sitting doesn't know that why this query. They take a simple explanation for us that this expense has been reported and this is the foreign payment from a legitimate source, and the query gets over. But the real intent of this query is that the other party has not shown that income in its return. Okay, now imagine same thing happening with the local thing. Okay, so if someone has deducted the TDS and we have not reported, that query is regularly coming up. So this type of complex webs of analysis will happen if they start using their artificial intelligence capability by another 20 to 30%. And I have seen that, I have seen number of raid cases where investigation department sitting on their system can get your 5 years, 10 years data, all your financial data, including your bank statement, everything. Your bank account details, everything by single click of a button, and comparative analysis also. 5 years data, comparative data. by a single click of button by entering the PAN only. And I have seen that personally. Okay, so I am not boosting that this is not possible, or it is possible. Only thing is they are not using it to that effectiveness nowadays, now at present, but they will start doing it at a later stage. So this is what the future is, that all compliance is in a single window. Earlier, the lower end part was at the top and the upper end part were at the bottom. Now upper end will be going the that different data will come into a single integration, and everything has to be uploaded at a single point. Okay. Benefit of a single point interaction. So definitely it will be time saving. So we don't have to have a different data formats, different formats for different uploadings. Quick retrieval of data. Okay, everything will be available. So MCA, ITR, everything will be there. Internal profitability, history retrieval of data from public domain is easy. Proper data will be helpful for user to take decisions. Stakeholders, bankers, informed decision. Ultimately, the money saving. Now, this what I want to advertise or boost, that you need to have an intermediary who will take care of your data management. Okay, that entity, or you have to have a different role which will take only care of this data management. It is not concerned with the uploading filing. It is just concerned with the preparation of a data for a possible uploading. Okay. So I have given you some of the report. Definitely everyone is aware of this report, Tally profitability report. We have balance sheet, profit and loss, trial balance, ratio analysis. Normally we don't use ratio analysis to is effective in Tally, because sometimes we don't believe that data what is processed is proper or not. But nowadays I have started more using of ratio analysis from Tally itself, so that it is easier. If something is going wrong, I can easily find out. So generally, if you see, this is the profitability analysis report which is available in the Tally itself. Okay, this is directly taken from the Tally. Now you can do a lot of things from this. There is a data ratio, quick ratio, all our financial ratio which is required for both financial need as well as analytical needs is available with a single click. If you push enter, the detail is available. Now, if you take the example of a turnover detail, that is 75 days. This is a real data of my client. I have just hidden my client name. So if you see the turnover, receivable turnover days is 75 days. So average collection period is 75 days. Now, if I say that invoice is showing a 90 days credit period and turnover is the average collection time shown by the ratio is 75 days, I will say he is doing much better. But there is a flip side to it, that which is the party who is giving him early. So if that party is paying him early, what is the profitability with respect to gross profit with respect to that party? I have to check. So by giving, whether I am giving him additional discount, that's why he is paying me early, or what is happening. Now same thing will happen with the GP ratio. Normally we do GP ratio analysis. That is our favorite subject, GP ratio and NP ratio. So this is done by invariant, I think so 99.99% chartered accountant. Okay, but other ratio we are not normally bothered about. But now I feel that we should be more inclined toward doing this thing. Okay, then the stock turnover ratio. Now you can compare this with the previous year also, month on month also. What you have to do, just go to the right hand side. There is a new column. If you see on the right hand side, there is a new column. If you click that, you get the option of selecting the period, parallel period. That is, this is for April to September. You can have previous year April to March or April to September. Okay, so this new column alter column and auto column. The new column is very effective in comparing the data vis-a-vis current year to previous year, vis-a-vis current month to previous month. You can have n number of permutation and combination just by clicking that new column. You can compare data of two subsidiary companies also with the help of new column. Okay, the same chart of subsidiary company can be also open. The competitor company can be also be open if you have a competitor company's data. Okay, so this is what the analytic part is. Then stock related report. Now you have stock summary, stock aging, movement analysis, stock transfer, stock item cost analysis, stock item wise profitability, and many more. If you see, this is the report I have generated from stock summary. Okay, in stock summary report on the right hand side, you have this report. If you click that and you configure it, F12 is the configuration button. If you configure it, you can have this complex report where it is showing opening balance, inward, outward, and closing balance. And even if it's showing the group wise or item wise profit, the gross profit on that particular item. Now, what is the intent of my showing this report? Up till now, we are not doing this analysis. We are just seeing the gross profit at entity level. But I feel the time has come. We have to see this also. Whether in a particular entity level profit is 15%, but a particular item is showing abnormal higher profit and particular item is showing a negative profit. Definitely, GST department will come up the query in the near future, why you have sold it at a loss, whether there is a preferential pricing to this item or not, or whether you have not added some of the cost in the invoice value and you have recovered it with some other point. Okay, see, I don't say that this is a wrong practice. I don't say that you cannot sell it at a loss and there is a legal provision which debar you selling from loss. That is not my purpose. My purpose is we should have a capability to answer that query. Okay, I know that this item has been sold in a loss. I have analyzed that item and I know exactly what is the reason. 2 years or 1 year down the line, when the query come up, I should not be in a position or in a graphical situation where I am just trying to find out from where this information has come up. This information has come up from our own data uploaded. See, when I am uploading my invoice wise data, I am uploading each and every invoice with HSN code, the item code. GST has all my purchase data item wise. They can easily compare both the items. Okay, they can easily compare item wise purchase rate and the sale rate. And they will be able to find out exactly to which person we have sold at what price. Why there is a difference in price of the same product to a different customers. Okay, and one thing means in the recent amendment, if you see, the TCS return has been introduced for sales of good. Now the tax collected is very mere, but the data what they are pulling is the payment cycle. So at one end, GST has my invoice data, other end, ITD has my payment data. Imagine they can match it. So whatever invoices I have booked, whether I have made the payment or not, and if I have not made the payment, GST will say that 6 months have been done, you have to reverse that credit. Or since you have not made the payment, you must have not purchased it itself. Okay, so the 6 months time availability for taking the GST credit, they will come up with this query with integration of data of GST and ITD. Second aspect of that is what? Any abnormality will be immediately picked up. When you are uploading the TCS data, that is the payment wise data, you have invoice wise data also and payment with respect to that invoice also. Now, normally the tendency is that if that bill is, I will not use word bogus because it's an inappropriate word of my profession. If that bill is not genuine, the more better word of it, then normally the payment of that non-genuine bills are immediately made. So if your normal credit term is 90 days, and for the same product, you are purchasing from a particular party and making immediate payment, there is a possibility of query. Why you have made this payment immediate? And now that query will come up from both the department. Okay. So this is just point to ponder. That is, there are n number of possibility. By seeing this single report, I myself will have lot of queries. Why there is a 14% GP in a particular product when your average GP is 15%? Why there is a GP of 50% in one of the product? You can just do lot of integration and experiment in this. You can find out what are the fast moving items. You can find out what are the slow moving items. What are the absolute item. Everything can be found out while just experimenting with this single report. Any queries?
So Nimit sir, one of the participants, Vikas Baheti sir, was asking something pertaining to ratio analysis.
Yeah.
If you will allow me to.
Yeah.
Vikas sir, I am unmuting you. If you can share your query on with everybody. Vikas Baheti sir, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, Vikas.
Sir, ratio analysis is a good scenario. Even I am following it.
Yeah.
But the reporting fails in a scenario if multiple payments are made for a single bill, because it always considers a last date of bill.
Okay. So you are saying that you have bill-wise detail, and against one particular
Yes.
invoice, the payment has received in different time.
Correct. Means the supplier sometimes holds 10% of the amount.
I understood your query. So your receivable turnover in days will pick up the last payment.
Correct.
Yeah, obviously. See, sir, I always definitely this is, see, when we build a software, he has to take some logic. Okay. If he goes by the logic of individual date of payment, the ratio will be, I don't think so. They will be able to find out, establish that logic so effectively. So logic of taking a last pickup date, because the idea is what, that I need to find out what is my average time of receivable received. So obviously if supplier or the customer is paying in part, I will consider the final payment as the date on which my receivable is completely received. So analysis purpose, I am okay with it. You can do minor changes in your reporting if you want by tweaking that thing in the separate mode, but definitely the ratio will not change. Okay.
So it can be done on weighted.
No.
It cannot be done.
You cannot find out that logic. How you establish that logic of weighted average?
No, means 50%, 80% of the amount received.
Okay. See, software. Company can ponder. I can raise a query to the company that whether they can build up such thing. But definitely, I find it very difficult and hard to believe that they will come out with that type of solutions where they can have a weighted average or something. What I feel. Okay, I will definitely raise your query with the company, and company officials are also there, so they will also have a food for thought on this.
Yes, sir. Right, sir. Feedback well taken, Vikas, sir. Yeah.
So yes, I am really pleased that you have studied this ratio so minutely. This is the first time I have come across a person asking this minute query on the ratio which is reflected in the system.
Right, sir. In fact, it is a very good query that he has raised.
Yeah. Okay. Should I continue? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Please. Vikas, sir, if there are any queries, we will take it offline as well.
Yes.
So this is what the ratio, or this is what the report enables you to find out the minute or the detailing of that particular transactions or particular item. So this is what I have taken an income tax form and different fields that is required. Now what I want to say is that each of this field we should be able to auto pick up from the data which is available with us. Okay. Now, at present, normally what we do, we transfer data from Tally to Excel and then rearrange or regrouping as per our requirement. What I feel is we should arrange our Tally data or grouping level. I am not saying anything about the ledger. I am saying at the grouping level, we should arrange our Tally data in such a fashion that answer to each and every field of this report or this return is readily available from the data itself. Okay, there is no regrouping or nothing is required. Some experiment or some innovation is there. I will show you some minor innovation at the later part of my program. Okay. So this is the MCA data schedule 3, the standard format of the balance sheet that is required. Now this is the GSTN return, the GSTR1 return that is downloaded. So these are the field. I'm just trying to emphasize that these are the fields which is required to prepare this return and upload it. Okay. Now, what is my ultimate motto? No Excel. I will not transfer my Tally data or any software data to Excel and rearrange it for filing purpose. I must be able to use my Tally data directly for all my filing. Now Tally has effectively can be effectively used for GST and TDS now. There is no problem. Only Excel income tax, they have some issues because they cannot have that income tax disallowance is working and all that thing. So, but definitely company will come up or they will try out to come up with 26 years RICO. Okay. So we can directly download or we can import 26 years into Tally and find out the reason for differences. Okay, that mapping process is a different process. So definitely company has to come up. At present, this facility is not available. But at a later part, this facility may be available or definitely it can be made available. Okay. So many issues, what to do? So synchronize data, manage Tally backend masters. So what is the first thing I need to do for data management? I need to sanitize all my masters one time. Okay. While what I say by master is, I'm not saying you change the name of the ledger. You don't do anything with the change in name of the ledger. For reporting purpose, you have to only see whether master is properly aligned with that statutory requirement or not. Okay. I am not of the field. Earlier, I used to advocate that you don't open this ledger, you don't do this ledger. You open the ledger. I don't mind opening the ledger. But when you open the ledger, configure it properly. Okay. So what I feel is we have to do a master sanitization work once at a time, one time. Okay. And repeat it at a frequent interval. Check whether the data, that is the masters which are there, the ledgers which are open, are properly configured or not. I will show you a report which throws out the incorrect masters. Okay, I will show you a report. There is a report in Tally which throws out incorrect masters, but it is limited only to GSTs. Okay, so first thing is define the master or properly sanitize the master. Then align the master with a proper heading group ledger name with schedule 3. So what I feel is, if you see, when you export a trial balance from Tally or any software, it has different export mechanism. That is, you can export at levels. That is, only at first group level you can export the trial balance. Then you can export it with the second group level, and then you can export it with all ledgers. Now what I feel is, keep the ledger as it is intact, regroup it properly. So for example, if traveling and conveyance, this is the common group or the common ledger where you have number of traveling ledgers, traveling directors, traveling employees, traveling and conveyances, conveyance and traveling out of state, traveling foreign or anything. Now, normally what I say is, Arey Babre, I have to manually do addition or I have to export that traveling and then find out the total of traveling expenses and mark it to the my financials. What I feel, we should create a group of traveling and combine all your ledgers in that group itself. Create group subgroup. See, Tally has infinite opportunities in groups and subgroups, and you can change the groups and subgroups at any point of time. Changing the name of ledger is little bit of difficult because data entry operator is very accustomed with his name. He has memorized the name perfectly, but he has not memorized the group. And I am only concerned with the group. I am not concerned with the ledger name. So if you tell that don't use this ledger, or you write that, okay, do not use, I normally write DNU, do not use this ledger in start of the ledger. But still they use that ledger because they are more human approach to the accounting. Tally being a non-code accounting software, that is, they don't use code for the identifying the ledger. They are still with the human approach, that is, they call ledger by their names and not by codes. So the accountant or the data entry operator is more familiar with the name. So Hasmukh Bhai sometimes becomes Hasmukh Bhai, sometimes become Hasmukh Shah, sometimes only becomes Hasmukh, depending upon how that person is called by that person. Okay, so Messrs Hasmukh, Hasmukh Shah, Hasmukh R Shah, Hasmukh Bhai, just the name. Okay, so now I can create a group of Hasmukh Bhai itself and combine all the ledgers of Hasmukh Bhai in that, if he is a related party. This is just the experiment. You can do experiment, or you can do the smaller experiment at your end and then find out what is the most effective. Then the GST backend information, that is the invoice number, HSN code. Now this invoice number is very typical or very problematic scenario nowadays when you will be start uploading your invoices, or when the 2A reconciliations have started. Okay, so if you see, whenever there is a reconciliation process, the first field that is matched is the invoice number. After the GST number matching, what is the next field that it matches is the invoice number. Now typically there is no standard format of invoice numbering in India, so there is no legal. You have a standard HSN code, but there is no invoice number field. That is, you have to write invoice number in a particular field, particular way only. There is no legal formulation for it. So I can have my invoice number in any format I require. Okay, now what happens? Suppose I have issued an invoice number with a number in a particular format, and while entering the purchase, you have not entered in the similar format. Then whenever you are doing a reconciliation, 2A reconciliation, you will find there will be a mismatch. Okay, so a simple invoice number can have n number of mismatches. I will show the report also for that. So what I say is, you redefine the masters, perform data syndication and data sanitization. Now we come to the Tally part of my presentation. That is what Tally gives me for data management. Now the first report which I feel is an excellent report, that is the triangulation report. Now this triangulation report, you can find it in statutory report. Okay, statutory report, display statutory report, then go to GST, open any of the GST 2A or 1, 2, anything. You will get this triangulation report. Now what does triangulation report say? That on the left hand side it is included transaction, on the right hand side it is excluded transaction, and there are uncertain transactions. Okay, so first I come to the excluded transactions. So excluded transactions are the transaction in which the ledgers are not connected with GST in any sense. So typically a bank payment. Okay. So when I make a payment to the party through bank, whether GST is connected? No. So it's a payment voucher that is entered. It is normally set in the excluded transaction. Then there is the set of included transaction. Included transactions are transactions where all the masters or any one of the master have GST effect in it. Okay. So you have aligned that ledger to GST. That will be included transaction. And the bottom is uncertain transactions. So what are uncertain transactions? The uncertain transaction is the transactions where the logic is not there in the transaction entered. So you have set a logic of a different manner and you have entered in a transaction in a different manner. So for example, logic that this stock, this item has 18% rate, that is 9% CGST and 9% IGST. But while entering the data or while entering the invoice, you have stated that the tax is only 10%. So the transaction is uncertain for this software. So whatever logic has been derived by the software, that logic has not been used or that not been satisfied for this number of transactions. So when I see this report, what should I do first? I should start with excluded transaction. Check all the excluded transactions. Just have a cursory look whether any of the potential transaction which have an impact of GST has not given properly. Now, common example will be what? Bank charges. If you see, what is the entry for bank charges? It is normally done through payment entry, payment mode. Okay, bank charges debit to bank account, payment mode entry. Now, bank charges nowadays have GST impact. You have GST is levied on bank charges and there is a credit eligibility on GST on bank charges. So if a particular transaction of bank charges is included, if you see that that is there in the excluded transaction, then immediately do the corrective analysis. Okay, shift. First you have to change the master, realign the master of bank charges with GST. Automatically that transaction will shift from excluded to included. Second thing is the journal entries. All the journal entries that are there, you have to essentially see the journal entries, whether any potential GST loss is there or not. Okay, including fixed asset, including expenses, everything. Then you have to see uncertain transactions. Uncertain transactions will give the potential mismatch. Okay, you have to correct that mismatch and rectify all the mistakes. This is readily available in Tally. No separate thing is required. Included transactions are all safe transactions. That is the logic of the software or logic of the business has been perfectly applied to that transaction in all sense. So this is the total transaction. And what is my ultimate motto? Ultimate motto is zero. That is the error-free reporting. Okay. By doing this sanitization, the simple sanitization, you can have an error-free GST returns. I can assure you that. So this is what I was saying about the triangulation report. This is the 3B report. If you see the 3B report, on the top, total number of vouchers for the period, included in returns, participating in return table, no direct implication in return table. Okay, not relevant for this return. Now the last is the incomplete and mismatch information to be resolved, one transaction. Okay, so you can just go there, click it, you can enter it, it will show the potential mismatch, you can rectify it, come out, you get an error-free return. This is a ready-made report available in Tally. No separate exercise is there. Okay. The entire return of 3B is there. You can generate that 3B return directly from Tally, open the portal and export it. No problem. Now, one slide I just skipped. So this slide is regarding the reconciliation of 2 and 2A. So Tally has an inbuilt where you can import the JSON file of 2A and reconcile it with your 2. Okay. So automatic file import system is there. You can have the flowchart. So flowchart is what? Go to your GST portal, GST2 online, click generate summary. You have to download the JSON file. Once the JSON file is downloaded, you save that JSON file in the login folder, the Tally folder. And then you can have this Tally mechanism where a report will be generated of the difference between 2 and 2A. Now, what is 2 and 2A? 2A is the purchase report. Okay. So you can have the potential mismatch. You can see what are the differences that are erupting in my 2A returns. You can upload that 2 return, revised return also from Tally. And you have the status whether you want to accept that difference or not. So none of the system is compelling you to accept the 2A. Okay, it's just the potential, it's just the mismatch report that is available. You can add missing invoice, you can upload, you can update your data and then re-upload it in the site. Okay. See, I have purposefully not taken this entire because this entire 2A reconciliation or GST reconciliation is a webinar in itself. You need a separate session for this. Now, the final slide in my presentation. So what we are trying to find out, see, based on external reporting, we can get your financial kundli done. Any person, any entity who is at present company, who is an company or an NLP has to file the MCA returns. So data is available on MCA. GST also has limited data available. That is whether that dealer is filing return on time or not, or whether he has uploaded the return or not. So entire financial kundli can be created based on the uploading done by you without interacting with you. Okay, I am not talking that if I require some data, I collect the data from you and then prepare a kundli. This is not the process of due diligence. This is process of an independent due diligence done by us. Okay, we can help this. And imagine in future when government will open up the portal more and more, then the financial kundli can become more and more effective. Okay, so at that point of time, whatever you are uploading is, you have to imagine that this uploading is done on a public domain. Now, there are recent changes happening in the ROF also. Registrar of Firms is also changing, and they are also creating their own database. They are also going online. So days will be there where partnership return also will require to be uploaded just like LLP and companies. Okay, and that return will be also available in public domain. So practically 80 to 90% of the entities data will be available on a public domain. So whatever you are uploading, you need to upload it in more sensible manner, more sanitized manner, and businesses will get better benefit out of it. So if you are opting for merger acquisition, you want to find out a potential target for mergers, and your client has given you the task of finding out his financial. Due diligence happens once the deal goes ahead, but pre-due diligence things has to be done, because you need to identify potential target for mergers and acquisitions. So you can get the assignment for that also. You can get the assignment of vendor development also. That is the parent company or the big FMGC company want to establish distributors and they want to do the health checkup of their distributors. They call for the data, but nowadays they will start doing independently also, because market has opened up. Anyone can deal with anyone. There is no set people. Okay, you want to deal it. I want to buy raw material from any source. So I want to know who is my vendor, who is my customer, whether he is capable of enough. Bankers want to know what is the financial strength apart from what is reported to the bank. So this entire thing will create a jargon of information available at public domain. So you should be very sensible in uploading. You can't just upload and see wait for the query. You have to be ready with the query. Okay, so that ends with my presentation. One more thing, now for preparing this presentation, my colleague Chetan Somani has helped me a lot. So that's why I'm making a special reference to this. And thanks Tally for giving me this opportunity to give this webinar on a special subject and little bit offbeat subject. I have not given much emphasis on Tally. Sorry for that. But definitely Tally as a medium or as a data management software has grown like anything, and they are coming up with different solutions and different front end as well as back end. And days will come where just a single software will enable us to file GST return, TDS return, MCA return, and everything, and so on. Thank you all for patient hearing.
Thank you, Nimit sir, for wonderful session.